Hello, welcome to Devon Monk's Works and Worlds. I am going to take a few minutes and do a little knitting video. I had said earlier that who knows, I might break out into spontaneous knitting. Here we are, spontaneous knitting. So, what am I going to knit today? Well, I thought it would be really fun to knit something that I could give away at the end of, well, not at the end of this video because it's going to take me longer than this video to finish, but something that I could give away to someone who is one of my viewers here. And I have had a lot of fun over the last, I don't know, several years, 10 years, knitting different versions of gnomes. When I was writing my first novel, Magic to the Bone, Magic to the Bone, for a second I forgot, which came out, quite a while ago, maybe 10 years ago. It's the beginning of the Ellie Beckstrom series. After I finished writing that book, I wanted to do something creative that I could keep and have fun with and wasn't on a deadline and was just for creative outlet. And I had seen an Alan Dart pattern, his gnome, which was adorable, so adorable that I had to go find the pattern. Well, I didn't know back then anything about Ravelry or these kinds of things. So I went to my local fabric store thinking, well, surely they'll have the pattern there. No, they did not have the pattern there. For one thing, Alan Dart, I think he lives in the UK and I live in America, so he's not local to my knitting stores. And while I thought they would have his pattern stocked, mostly his patterns come out in a certain magazine, or did at that time. And so the only way for me to get the pattern was to order it to come in the mail, just the leaflet out of the magazine. And so I ordered the leaflet and it came in the mail, and I immediately set off into knitting this gnome. The gnome was really above my skill level. I hadn't knit in the rounds. I hadn't ever knit with double pointed needles, DPNs. I had never changed colors in the round. I had never knit a toy ever before in my life. But I knit that gnome and I adored it, and I still adore it. I still have it. And that kind of started me off on my path of knitting silly things, knitting gnomes and toys and these sorts of things. So today I thought we're going to knit a gnome, not Alan Dart's gnome. We are going to knit here, have it printed out so that I can follow the pattern while I'm here at the filming area. And I'll just kind of pull it up here. I don't know if we can see it on the camera. Ooh, that's kind of bright. Let's see. Is that good? There we go. Maybe. That says Norman the Doorman, A Gnome for Your Home by Leanne Wilkinson. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. This is not actually, see that little guy? That's not who I'm going to knit. I have knit many of those little guys. I've given them away for Christmas gifts. I've given them away for birthday gifts. I've given them away for housewarming gifts. I've made, with this gnome pattern, many gnomes. I have also modified this gnome because it's very modifiable. And I've made a Viking, a wizard, a witch, and I think that's it, and gnomes. Today, not a gnome. Today I decided I would do something that ties into my most recent book, which will be Dima Demon. That's coming out hopefully at the end of May, maybe early June, but hopefully at the end of May. And in Dima Demon, this isn't giving anything away since it's pretty much on the cover, we meet a unicorn. So people, we're going to knit a unicorn. But I thought it would be fun to just start right from the very beginning of the project. I haven't even cast on yet. As you can tell, these are my needles, and I'm behind the scenes right over here rustling my yarn, which has tied itself around some cords. Not helpful yarn. Anyway, here we go. So I'm just going to knit for a while, and what I was thinking of doing is, in the future, if this is something that you like, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a like. Leave a comment down below, because that'll let me know that you do enjoy the knitting videos. And I was thinking, if I get enough people who comment, maybe I'll do a live knitting video so that I can actually stream and talk to you live, answer your questions. It'll be a little more intimate than just you're seeing this after I've recorded it. But I do read all of the comments. So if you leave a comment, I will read it, and I will try to respond to you in a very short amount of time. Okay, so we are going to start our unicorn. I'm using acrylic because I love this color. It's just right for the unicorn. And it wears pretty good in toys. It's washable. I know I like working with wool too. I work with all sorts of fibers, but I'm not a fiber snob. Acrylic's fine for me. So especially for this project, which like I said, is going to be a unicorn doorstop. So this is like, it's going to be on the floor. So we want this to be washable. We want it to be dustable. We want it to be okay if a pet picks it up by the top of its horn. Okay, this doesn't exist as far as a pattern. I'm going to just modify as I go. But we're going to start with the pattern. And the pattern says to cast on 12 stitches over 3 double pointed needles. So I've got these cool little cubit needles. Let's see if you can see that. See these things? Do you see how they boop, boop, they're square? These, I just discovered these a couple years ago, and I haven't used them a little bit. And when I did use them, I've liked them. They make very even stitches, though I just have very even stitches. I've knit enough that I've got pretty darn good tension now. But these are fun, especially if you have arthritis, or if a person has arthritis. My sister has arthritis in her hands, and she's a knitter, and these really help. They have a better grip, and it's easier for picking up the stitches because there's a little hole kind of in the square to the round stitch that allows you to insert the tip of the needle easier. So here we go. We're going to cast on 12 stitches. I like using long tail cast on. This is the bottom of the project, so it won't really matter what kind of a cast on. It doesn't have to be fancy. And this is my favorite cast on, mostly because it's the first one I ever learned. My grandmother taught me this. So 1, 2, 3, we want 12. 4, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm just going to do this quick and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, 8, 9, 10. Where should I put my hands? Up here maybe? No, in the way, maybe there. 11, 12. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay. Now we're going to, I know this is the dumbest way to do this, people, but this is how I do it. Just works for my brain. So why do I knit? Good question. I think everybody comes to knitting for different reasons. Just to have fun, that's one thing, of course. You heard me talk about after I had finished my first novel that I had ever sold, I immediately wanted to knit. Now, why do you suppose that is? Well, it's a stress reliever for me. We now have 4 stitches. Can we see that? 4 stitches on each needle, and I'm going to join them in around, but I need a stitch marker. So I'm going to get my, I'm always losing stitch markers, and I put them in all sorts of weird containers. I have them in jam jars. I have them in, I don't know if I should advertise this. I don't intend to, but see this? Ah, stitch markers. These are some stitch markers that my husband made because he is brilliant. He made a bunch of them a couple years back for me for Christmas, and oh my gosh, I use them all the time. So we only need one for this pattern, I think. I don't think we need more later. If we do, we'll get more. But here we go. We're just gonna pink, pink, pink. We are all matchy, matchy. Oh, maybe I shouldn't put that on yet. Yeah, duh. Let's take that off. Oh, come on, stitch marker. Boom. Okay, here we go. All right, I knit because it's relaxing. And any knitter who has ever knit any complicated pattern is probably laughing their heads off right now, because knitting is not always relaxing. Sometimes it's just the most frustrating thing you ever do. But there has been some studies, I've read it, where they have found out that, yeah, it can be meditative, it can be relaxing, it can be soothing. You know, it's repetitive. If you get into the groove of knitting, it is very soothing. I find it very soothing. I will often keep 1, 2, 3, 4 a knitting project on my desk while I'm writing, and when I'm stressed out, or if a scene isn't coming together, or if I can't seem to make the story go where I want it to go, I'll pick up my project, knit for a couple of stitches, put it while I'm thinking, put it down, and go back to writing. And I actually, after I had read that study about how many, you know, that, oh, it's soothing, it's relaxing, it really helps, brings down your blood pressure, I thought, well, does it? And so I started trying it at my desk, like I was talking about, and I counted how many stitches it took before I relaxed, you know, before the stress went down. And it took 10 stitches. That was it. and which blew my mind. I thought for sure it would take me like, 12 minutes or 14 minutes or something to calm down. No, just 10 little stitches, and I was already feeling better. Okay, so now we're going to knit and around. I think that's what we're supposed to do. Let me check out our little pattern here to the side. Yep, we're going to knit. So to keep my stitch marker locked over here, I'm going to knit this first stitch off of this needle, get out of the way. Now we're going to knit. So I knit, I can't remember what this is called. Is this called English? With the yarn in my left hand and the working needles in my right, right? This is English, where basically there's two ways to hold yarn. One is English and one is continental. Knitters know this. I'm just saying it if somebody hasn't ever seen knitting. And I learned this process, this left-handed hold. I was up at Oricon, which is a local science fiction fantasy lovers convention here in Oregon. It's up in Portland. And I sat in on a stitch and bitch where everybody just got together to work on their projects. And I was knitting up a swatch. I just wanted to see what, sorry, I don't know if I've been in the camera there. I was knitting up a swatch to see what a particular yarn would look like. And one of the women there, I don't even remember her name, she's like, well, do you want to learn how to knit a little faster and less stress on your shoulders? Because the other way to knit, let me show you, which is actually how I learned when I was a kid, is like this. And this is fine too. I knit this way too. I'm knit dexterous, which is handy when I'm doing color work and that sort of thing, when you really want like 3 more hands than what you own. So, okay, here's the way that I learned to knit, which maybe most of you did have too, or maybe not, maybe you learned the other way. I feel like this is maybe a more, I don't know, this is how I've always seen people, they show it this way on TV too, right? Everybody does this throw. That's the kind of classic knit move there. I mean, I'm using it with like a million needles at the moment. Oops, I should probably be paying attention to the pattern. Yeah, messed up already. Oopsie doopsie. Well, we will just fix that. Anyway, so I first began knitting with the throw, which is what I was just doing. But I have found that this is easier, is faster, and I like it. So I generally knit with it in my left hand. And we're going to tink back a couple of stitches. I like to do it by inserting my needle in the hole and taking the stitch out while it's on the needle so that I don't lose anything. Okay, so what I should have done, what the pattern says is knit one, knit front and back. Because we're increasing, we're going to make this bigger. This is the bottom, we're going to build up. So we have knit one, because here's our stitch marker. We have knit one, so should I bring this up a little bit? Stitch marker, knit one. So now we're going to knit front and back in this. And that's one of my favorite increases with toys. I think it does a nice tight increase that helps the stuffing. Like when you're working with toys, you're creating a dense material, and it helps the stuffing, I think, not show through the increase spots. And I think I'm supposed to knit one, knit front and back. Now it says knit one, knit front and back in the second stitch. Oh, then knit front and back. So we're doing it again. Here we go, knit front. Should I bring this up closer? I feel like I may be not showing it as good as I could. New video person here, people, so bear with me. Okay, so we knit front and back. You can tell, hey camera, how you doing? Because that is a knit stitch, it has a V at the bottom, and that is a purl stitch, it has a bump at the top. So knit front and back. The back part looks like a purl. So we're going to do it again. Knit front and knit in the back. My stitches are a little tight, but that's what we want with toys. Tight knitting is good. Then we're going to knit one, and it says to repeat. So we are going to repeat on each needle, 6 stitches per needle, 18 stitches total. We're just going to go on like this until we get 18 stitches. I think that's basically what we need to do. So that was a knit front and back. So we're going to follow the pattern, which is knit 1, yeah. I was just checking because sometimes one of the things about knitting is learning how to read the recipe of knitting, read the patterns. And there's kind of a shorthand, there's a code for how you write a pattern, but everybody writes it a little differently. There's definitely some leeway on what you can do. And it all has to do with, you know, what's in parentheses and what's separated by commas and your directions. And so I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to what this um, pattern developer is telling me to do. So there's our knit one, knit front and back, and then we're supposed to knit front and back again. Okay, so that's basically how we're increasing 2 in the middle of each of these with that little front and back. And we're going to knit one again. And yay, we've done 2 whole rows. Is that exciting? Sure, that's exciting. Okay, 2 rows. Moving on, 3 we just knit. So, knitting isn't the only craft I do. And I wouldn't say that I'm an advanced knitter or I don't know. But what I am is I'm an adventurous knitter. There's pretty much nothing I won't try. And that's fun because I have so many crazy failed projects. I have so many successful projects, and I wouldn't have half that much of either if I didn't just try something that struck my fancy. So if you're new to knitting, you know, don't be afraid. You will find your way through it. You'll find the things that you love. You'll find the kind of yarn that you love, the needles you love, just as you try. I work on inexpensive needles. I work on relatively expensive needles, and my projects turn out the same. You know what I mean? Some maybe are a little easier on your fingers or your hands or work better with different yarns, but you can knit with very little and still have an awful lot of fun. And personally, I love making, I say on my webpage and my author bio and stuff, I love knitting silly things, but it's really true. I love knitting silly things, and I come up with silly patterns, and it delights me. Oops. And so that's what I lean toward. I've knit clothes too. I've knit myself some sweaters and about 1 million hats, and most of the things that I knit I give away. Which is good because otherwise I'd be just you'd see a woman walking down the street with like 80 hats on and like tied together with scarves and you know, shoes with slippers over them and more slippers over them, and it would be like, oh yeah, that's Devon, that's that weird author who knits all the time. So it's good that I give my stuff away. I think I hope the recipients enjoy them. Okay, we have done 2 rows and then a 3rd row of knitting now. And round 4, this is some increasing. We're supposed to do knit 1, knit front and back into the 2nd stitch, knit across the last 2 stitches, knit front and back, and knit 1. Well, that would have been great if I had kept all the right number of stitches on my needles, wouldn't have. But basically, we know this is knit 1, right? So far so good. Then we're going to knit front and back. Knit, oh no, here we go. Knit front, knit back. And then we are going to, come on, here we go. We are going to, I don't want to think what this looks like right now. There, that seems a little more appropriate. Okay, anyways, knit 1, knit front and back, and then we are going to knit across the last 2 stitches. How many stitches are supposed to be on each needle? 6. Groovy. 1, 2, because we made that into 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's our last. Okay, so we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good. So we're just going to knit. Yeah, knit the last 2 stitches and then do a little front and back. Okay, so now we're increasing on the outsides at the beginning and end of each row, basically. Oh no! Disaster, calamity! What will we do? We have dropped stitches on such a tiny project so quickly into it. Yeah, we'll fix it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to assess the damage. We know we have a drop stitch here. We have one half hanging on over here, so we've got to get everybody lined up. So we're going to take this guy off. What do we have here? That's just a regular stitch. Okay. So we weren't increasing here, so we don't have to worry about that. We know that's our increase because it looks like a purl stitch. Let me see if you can see that. I am still not quite sure, but let me bring it up a little closer. See that? That's the purl stitch right there. This is a knit stitch. It's a V. And the purl stitch is a line. It's a bump. And I want to say, please excuse my fingernails. And I also want to say, please get used to my fingernails because they're not going to change because I don't do fancy things to my fingernails, and I work in the garden and I scrub things and I do crafts, and I don't do anything nice to my fingernails. So they're going to be short, they're going to be stubby. They're really short and stubby right now because I was out weeding the gardens and vegetable gardens, and I just tore them up because no, I don't wear gloves. I should wear gloves. You should wear gloves. I don't wear gloves, partly because I was weeding our vegetable gardens in the rain because this is Oregon, and if you're going to garden, you're going to end up gardening in the rain. Was that right? I was not supposed to knit one at the beginning, front and back, was I? It was 6 stitches, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I was supposed to just knit one. Boy, this is good. You know what? The big question is going to be, can I keep track of what I'm supposed to be knitting while I'm just talking like a maniac? We'll find out. Okay, what was I talking about? Gardening. Yeah, in the rain because it's Oregon, and we have a bunch of raised beds. We have like, I don't know what we're up to now. We keep adding them. It's like we thought we'd only have 4, and then we added like 6 more or 3 more, and then like 4 more showed up, and we just kept adding garden beds. So I think we're up to 15. I don't know, something like that. So we have these lots of garden beds. We grow lots of vegetables, love it. But I was not good. We were not good about getting the beds. And I'm talking about my husband and I. He gardens also, so we garden together. He and I did not. He travels a lot, and he and I'm on a lot of deadlines. We did not get to the cleaning out of the garden stage of the garden last year, and so everything that we left in the garden tried to replant itself in some way, and the squirrels decided that our garden beds were the best garden beds to bury filberts in. I think I pulled out something like 30 filberts, the nuts, which is they're kind of like a pecan. No, filbert. Yeah, kind of like a, would you call that like a pecan? Pecans are more like walnuts. No, more like filberts, right? You know, round and smooth, kind of like an acorn is what it looks like. Anyways, they're going to trees. And so we had like 30 little trees starting in our garden, and they were like growing. They were this tall. We pull them out. There's this huge nut in the root and everything. It's crazy. So needless to say, and then the grass got in the garden beds and took over. And if you've never weeded grass roots, oh my goodness, people, they go down and they spread like weaving on top of each other like this. So we pulled out just pounds of grass roots. And so that was great. But why am I even talking about this? Well, the reason why I was gardening without gloves is because to feel the difference between the dirt that I was digging and breaking up and pulling apart when it was still very damp in the rain, I needed my fingers, and it was cold, but if I had had gloves on, I couldn't tell if that was a clump of dirt or if that was a clump of grass roots. And so, yeah, so my fingernails are terashed. Terashed, people. Okay, so let's see. We have gone around a couple of times. This is a knit row now. I did that whole increase row. I'm supposed to do 2 rows of knitting, so this is 1 row and the next row. Okay, so we're just going along here and knitting. I know you probably don't want to spend your whole day watching me do this because it's certainly not exciting yet. This is not the exciting part of the knitting. Not that we're going to have fireworks show up or something, but I mean, it does get kind of fun. But one of the questions I want to ask, please, if you click on this video and you got in this far, please let me know if you'd like to see me live stream a video like this so that we could actually just chat and talk whatever, books, writing. That's what I love to talk about. My books, my writing. That's what this channel's all about. Your knitting projects, your crafting projects, just, I don't know, gardening. We talk about anything. Anything you want to. And, oops. My yarn is being a little cranky here. Let's see. And we could, you know, you could hang out and knit too. If you're a knitter, you could bring your knitting and we could sit and in your comment, when you comment on this in the live stream, if I do live stream, I will be able to talk to you and hear what you're working on, and we can compare notes. Let's see, if you're a knitter, even if you're not a knitter and you want to see some of the things that I've knit, because I do knit silly things, check me out on Ravelry. I'm there under the very imaginative Devon Monk. So I don't have a special name or anything on Ravelry. I just put my name. So you can find me there, devonmonk.com. Also, I'm sorry, that's my webpage, devonmonk.com. But I am Devon Monk at Ravelry. So if you're on Rav, you can hook up with me there. I also have made a few patterns of my own. Oh, see, now this is getting somewhere. See this? This is fabric. We're going to close this hole, of course. We're going to sew that up. And now we have, we're moving out in this circle from the bottom. It'll be the bottom of this doorstop. We're starting to get somewhere. We are on row 6. So, you know, you can already see it forming a little bit here. Anyways, I'm over on Rav. You will also, if you go to Rav, or if you go to my webpage, you'll find my pattern for Stone the Gargoyle. He was my first pattern I ever made. I've only made a few patterns that I've actually published. 2 patterns that I've published, or well, what do you call published? Put them out on my webpage for free. I'm not going to charge for them. They're just, you have fun with them. 2 patterns that I've put up on my webpage. It's linked in the Ravelry too. And one of them is Stone the Gargoyle. And why did I make a gargoyle pattern? Because people, even if you haven't read them, Stone the Gargoyle is, setting this down for a sec, he is in these books of mine. Remember when I said my very first books that I wrote that right afterwards I had to start knitting. I picked up knitting again. This is the first one, Magic to the Bone. I'm not sure if this is a clean copy or if this is one of the copies that had people who I said thank you to in this book signed this book. My husband did that, so this is one of the first printing. This is special just for me because of all the people who so kindly signed it for me. Anyways, Magic to the Bone. This is the first book in my first series. It's about this gal here in Portland, Oregon, her name is Allie Beckstrom. That's why it's called the Allie Beckstrom series. And she can hunt down people who are using magic illegally. And magic, anybody can use it in this world. But if you use it, it will cause you pain. There is a price to pay, and that price is pain. And so some people get away with making other people pay the price for pain, and that's not okay. So, great book. Look at that terrific quote by the always amazing Patricia Briggs. Come on, isn't that awesome? How sweet of her. Oh, also here on the bottom, the also equally amazing Rachel Vincent. Little quote down there. And I know these gals, I know Rachel read it, I know Patty read it, so this isn't just like, oh, she got this quote. No, real quote, people, real quotes. So here we go. Magic the Bone has, not in this book, but I think it's in the 3rd book, a gargoyle shows up, and that's not giving away a plot point, I don't think. But anyways, this gargoyle shows up, and his name is Stone, and he's adorable, and so I had to make a knitting pattern of him, and you can find that pattern on my webpage over on Ravelry too. So this is kind of a long video. It's been about 28 minutes. I feel like I've rambled on, and I'm not sure that I want to ramble on too much longer to take up too much of your time. If you like this video, please mention it below. Please ask me some questions. Give me the thumbs up. Yes, I want you to do a live stream, and we could talk together, knit together, do that kind of thing. Let me know down below if that's something that you'd like to see from me. Again, thank you so much for coming by to my channel, Devon Monk's Works and Worlds. I am new to this and enjoying it and exploring it with all of you. So thank you for giving me a place to share some of the things I love, share my books, share my characters. If you want to hear anything about my newest releases, check out www.devonmonk.com. That'll take you to my webpage, and it should have all the new stuff there. Like I said, I should be having a book coming out in toward the end of May, maybe early June. It is called Dime a Demon, and it is the fifth novel. Oops, totally got off the count there. Fifth novel in the Ordinary Magic series, and this is the first novel in the series. This is Death and Relaxation. This is a story about a sleepy little beach town where gods vacation and monsters reside. And this gal, Delaney Reed, and her two sisters are the police officers in this little town and are charged with keeping the laws, both mortal and supernatural, for the gods who have chosen this town as their vacation town. So this is Death and Relaxation. It's fun, it's funny, it's light, it's magic. I enjoy it. There's some knitting in it. I think the knitting doesn't show up till book 3. Anyway, the 5th book is coming out in that series. The 4th book, if you missed it, is this little collection here, Rock, Paper, Scissors. It has 3 novellas in it. Rock Candy, Paper Stars, Scissor Kisses are all in this. And, oops, sorry, get it up there so you can see it. And this is book 4. So we have book 1 is Death and Relaxation. 2 is Devils and Demons. No, why did I say that? 1 is Death and Relaxation. 2 is Devils and Details. 3 is Gods and Ends. And then the 4th is Rock, Paper, Scissors. And the 5th is coming out soon, Dime a Demon. That's from a different sister's point of view, Myra's point of view. She's dealing with a demon problem. That's why it's called Dime a Demon. And it's been a blast to write. I just actually finished revisions on it today. I'm going to go through and run a couple of little cleanups on some storylines, and then off it goes to the editor, and off it goes to proofread, and then it should be out soon. So again, thank you for stopping by. Thank you if you read me. Thank you for reading. If you don't read me, thank you for coming by and just watching the video. If you're a knitter, knit on, my friends. And if you're a crafter, craft on, my friends. And thank you for stopping by to all of you. Please come by again soon. Bye for now.